So my name is Sarah Khumalo. I am the first Black African woman to summit Everest, complete the 7 summits, and hopefully in about 4 weeks' time to complete the Explorer Grand Slam, which I'm excited about. I started climbing when I turned 40, actually. I was reflecting on it the other day, which says that it's never too late to do what you're passionate about. So I climb mountains and I use it to raise money for education because I'm very passionate about the next generation of Africans and believing that the only way we can change their narrative is through education. So I'm passionate about that. And what I do now is, apart from executive coaching, is taking other women especially, and men, through the journey that I went through, taking them to Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, and really saying, you can. If you think you can't, you can. Just step a little bit more forward and be intentional. And maybe you can't because it's not important to you, and that's it. So that's who I am in a long-winded way.
Thank you so much. And we've connected a fair few years ago when I had a podcast. So yeah, I absolutely adore connecting with your energy, so positive and vibrant. So I'm really keen to hear your answers to my questions as I explore what it means for me to be 45, and also with the guise of my name that I was born with, Kate Strong. Yeah, the first question is, what for you does it mean to be strong?
So thank you for that question. I didn't, initially I looked at it, I'm like, oh, is she asking about her name? Or is she asking about strength? I think for me, it's a confluence of resilience, determination, and vulnerability, funny enough, which we don't really talk to. There is strength in being vulnerable. And I think strength is recognizing when there's a war and you need to pull back in order to come and win, and move forward. It's recognizing that you are not the right person for the job at hand. I think it's a level of brevity that some people would cower down because what will people say? It's being authentic, being you, and being present in every moment. For me, that's really what strength is.
Right, there's so much gold, and some of them could be seen as opposing, but it's actually together in symbiosis that the pure strength lies within. So
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. And so could you share an experience when you had to be strong, and how did you handle it?
I'll actually pick Everest because it's the only one of the 7 summits that I had to go back 4 times before summiting. As an overachiever, it was a love-hate relationship. It humbled me. It made me realize that I am stronger when I collaborate with the right people. Everybody needs a partner, but not everyone is a partner or the right partner for you. It's also, all the things I talked about, realizing that it's not the right time, let me pull back. It's closing the noise that social media and your environment throws at you in order to stay true to who you are, in order to lean into your why and get the clarity of why you're doing what you're doing. I had to do that, even though as I went through it, I didn't realize that was the process. I feel if I were to maybe just go back to strong, it's not a destination, it's a journey, right? Because what my strength is today is not necessarily what it will be tomorrow, unless if I stop growing. And I don't believe in that. I think we should continue growing as long as we are alive, and we'll stop growing when we die, obviously. So I think Everest is the place where I really needed to dig deep, and go back and accepting that it's me failing forward, right? And accepting that in this setback, there's gold that I need to move forward.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And to reframe also that word failure, because as you said, it was failing forward into the next opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can only find the nuggets and the gold in that step, or in that curveball, if you don't focus on the negative. Acknowledge them, I'm not saying ignore them. Acknowledge, flip, it didn't work out. I've lost money. So what's the next? But your energy definitely should be in what will help you grow to move forward. Because remember, it hasn't happened to you, it's happened for you. So if it's a gift, why would you want to focus on the wrapping paper and not the gift inside it, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, so powerful. And I'm really curious about your next answer as well, about the intersection of being a woman and the concept of strength. So how do you think societal expectations around us and our gender affect that concept?
I you know, probably in an African perspective, maybe globally, I don't know. I think generally women have been put into a box, you know, needing to be helped, must be soft, must be tender, and all sorts of things. The world has tended in the past to associate women with not with the masculinity, not with the strength that the world sees it to be, but almost in a box. The strength of a woman is, I don't know, whether it's raising children or, you know, we mustn't have muscles. But everywhere you look now, women are lifting weights, women are pushing boundaries, women are being authentically themselves based on what they want to do. But that doesn't stop them from being mothers, from carrying babies, from being nurturing, from being vulnerable, because there is strength in vulnerability. It's not everyone that can come up and say, Kate, I'm sorry, I messed up. It's the strong people that will recognize when they've erred and acknowledge it, you know, and the world needs to start seeing that for the strength that it actually is. And I think that over time will change if more and more strong women come up and talk about the time when they failed and failed forward. And it's not a world where I'm on the podium and that's it. What about the many nights that you spent running in the gym, in the, you know, I think the concept of strength is limitless. I did say it's a journey. And it encompasses the knowledge of strength in leadership, you know, in compassion, and more.
It's so curious because, as you know, I was age group world champion in triathlon, but I had to fail. I only won 2 races in my entire triathlon career. I just so happens to one of them was that one. Yet people forget that I needed to fail 20 triathlons to achieve one. So yeah, most of my life was a failure if I had believed it. But yeah, we forget that sometimes. And so, like, for everyone watching, obviously we are wearing different clothes, we're in different spaces. I had some tech issues last week, but the questions that you answered or what you shared was so enlightening. We decided to just start mid-conversation when I managed to sort myself out. So yeah, let's dive straight into it. And what are some common misconceptions about strength that you've encountered?
I think the main misconception comes from believing that strength is really about being macho, about aggressiveness. There is definitely strength in vulnerability, in how we face obstacles that comes through. And I strongly believe that females, women, are stronger in that respect because they're not, they don't have the inhibitions of looking compassionate, of accepting that this is a curveball that's come along. I don't know how to do it. Can I collaborate? It's much easier for women to do that. And there's definitely strength in that. The misconception is that vulnerability is not strength, I suppose, is the answer.
Yeah, I think that resonates a lot with me as well. And have you noticed any changes in your understanding of strength that might have influenced your approach to goal setting and success?
Absolutely. I think the ability to recognize that I'm not good at everything is something that I didn't naturally grow up with. And I think one of the pivotal period or journeys that changed that for me is Everest. It's the 4 attempts. It's realizing that nobody gets to the top alone. It's almost leaning into my own strengths and acknowledging that there are people that are better at certain things than I am. Let me collaborate with them and let them go with that and stick to what I know best. I think that's something that's shifted the way I do things, and it's the reason I'm actually a strength coach, because I so believe in staying in my lane, acknowledging that maybe the simplest example that I probably have given you before is to say, let's get Usain Bolt into the pool so that he can bring us medals in swimming. Like, what a waste of talent. Let's keep him on the track and he can give us gold medals because that's what he's good at. So how can we in everyday life acknowledge what we are great at and find other people that can complement us so that we can get to where we need to go in a hurry and in style, really.
Yeah. But what I'm really enjoying about 45 Strong is there are similar patterns across the board, from you as a strength coach and a mountaineer and summiter of Everest, to CEOs, to charity founders, and that magic word collaboration, like do what you do great and let others be themselves great too.
Absolutely. And it's not something that, at least in my environment, I grew up with, right? It's almost, I don't know, your environment, we were like, you're not good at maths. Let's get you remedial classes, extra teachers, and da 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 da. And let's ignore drawing that you're probably naturally good at. And who knew? Maybe we would have come up with a Picasso from Africa, if they just let the person be with his drawing or her drawing. So I think it's acknowledging that is so liberating, because the stress levels are low. You become great at what you're good at, naturally good at.
That's marvelous. And from your own experience, what one tip or technique have you created for nurturing and developing strength?
I think it's repeating certain things that work, and forgiving myself for what hasn't very quickly, and really moving on. Accepting that it won't always go according to plan, but I can navigate. And I call it, it's really resilience, RAT, recover, adapt, and thrive. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about thriving. So what is it that I would thrive in? And just sticking to that.
Yeah, I think that key, I really like the word thrive, because quite a few of us exist, but it's about taking it that extra layer.
Yeah. It's one thing I mentioned in my book, to say we are all capable of making history. The key is, what is your purpose? Can you stick to it and create history before your time is up? Because if you continuously are looking at the Joneses and trying to be the Joneses, you'll never be great at being the Joneses, because they're there. They've filled that space. Fill your own space, and do it the best of your ability.
Yeah, very wise words. And my final question is actually the first one. And seeing you've answered it last week, it might be a little different. But what does being strong mean to you?
For me, strength, or being strong, is really, it's a thread of being resilient, being vulnerable, and being purposeful. I probably answered it differently, but I think resilience is quite key. Maybe let's start with knowing your why. What is your purpose? What are my strengths? How can I make them not just good, not just mediocre, but great at it? And acknowledging that in me moving from good to great, if I may use that, I'm going to fail a few times. And that failure is failing forward. It's learning from it and moving forward. And in that, you have to acknowledge that it didn't work as best as you wanted it to, and going back at it again. And that requires you being vulnerable. That requires you acknowledging that I need Kate's help, which is not necessarily easy for many people, especially overachievers. And of course, making sure that we move forward continuously. As long as we can breathe, Kate, let's keep moving. I say keep stepping, because nobody gets to the finish line if they stop.
Sarah, it's been an absolute delight to reconnect. I know we spoke many years ago, and it feels like I've been speaking to you every week with regards to this. Thank you so much for being part of the 45 Strong and sharing your wise words from your life experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much.